Welcome to Trez's Tech. I'm your host, Trez Blencowe, retired computer guru extraordinaire and proud grandfather of two. Trez's Tech is all about showing seniors the ins and outs of technology, especially products that cater to our unique needs as we age. We'll unpack all the fancy tech lingo like Wi-Fi, IoT, and home automation. We'll talk about what they are, how to set them up, and how to use them. So put on your dancing shoes, grab a coffee or hot chocolate, and relax in your recliner. This is Trez's Tech. Hey y'all, welcome back to our Smart Homes for Senior series. Today we're diving into the world of Wi-Fi, which is the backbone of any smart home. So I thought first we would start with the basics, talk about some of these terminologies so you will understand as you configure your smart home or you're buying different products, you'll have a better idea of what they're trying to describe in their terminology. So first off, what is Wi-Fi? So Wi-Fi stands for wireless fidelity. It's a technology that allows electronic devices to connect to the internet or communicate with each other wirelessly. It's essentially like a radio signal in your house that allows your devices to connect without wires. Think of it as an invisible highway for data in your home. And so let's talk about a little bit more in detail. So Wi-Fi transmits data using radio waves at this point in time, three different frequencies, 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz. And you may be familiar with the probably 2.4 gigahertz. Several years back, when the new cordless phones came out, they used the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. So that's the gigahertz everybody's kind of familiar with. But the 2.4 gigahertz band, it has a larger range or longer range. So the signals it's a shorter wavelength. I don't know if you can describe it, but it's like smaller waves at the beach. And so the signal can transmit further distances because the waves are smaller. And I don't know if you've noticed at the beach when it's not a rough day, you may have swells that start miles out from the shore and they come in and they crash on the shore, where the larger waves, when it's a real rough beach, the larger waves really start right at where they break, right before they break on the beach. So the larger waves don't go as far. So think of the radio waves as that kind of sequence. So now that we understand what an internet router is, the next question is, where do you place your Wi-Fi router to get the best signal throughout your home? So where you place it can make a huge difference in your internet coverage. Think of it, let's equate it to like putting a radio somewhere in your home where you can hear the music everywhere in your home without turning the volume up so loud that it gets distorted and you can't understand what that music is. So you want to place your router in a central location because you want to spread the signal evenly throughout your home, and you want to avoid putting it in corners or under heavy furniture or in cabinets, things like that. Now, many of the Wi-Fi routers come with external antennas, and some of them have one, some of them have two. If you are lucky to have two, you want to have one antenna go horizontal, the other antenna vertical. That just gives you two different planes for your Wi-Fi radio signal to transmit. And you kind of experiment to see which one works best. A lot of times the first time you tried it, first time's a charm. Now, the second thing is you want to keep it away from large metal objects like microwaves, other electronics that might interfere with the signal, washer dryers, refrigerators, things like that. And you want to keep it away from devices that operate on the same frequency. So you may, I don't know if you read your owner's manuals and things, but a lot of the wireless phones, baby monitors, cordless phone, or even smart appliances operate on different frequencies. Most of them will operate on a 2.4 frequency. The reason being, again, the 2.4 is a shorter wavelength. It travels further, and it has a more solid communication. So a lot of them do operate on the 2.4 megahertz, or gigahertz. So you just want to keep the router away from those. You don't want to have them sitting on top. Sometimes just a few feet is all you need to do. Now, positioning your router high, you want to keep it as high as possible. If you have a 2-story home, if you put it on the second floor, you'll make the signal will go down through the floors, and hopefully it's strong enough to go and cover your whole house. If you have a 2-story home and you don't have good coverage with one router, we may want to consider looking at the mesh options, which we'll discuss in a few seconds here. But anyway, you want to keep your router central and high. And the fourth thing is you want to update the firmware. So a lot of internet routers come with the option in your firmware to update it automatically. And some of them you have to do it manually. But you want to just make sure your firmware is the latest when you do get this up and running. That just make sure you have all the features and you're getting the most out of your router. So let's go back to your 2-story home. So if you have a home with multiple stories, thick walls, or it's just an extremely large home, say over 1,500 square feet, you might want, and you're having trouble getting good Wi-Fi coverage, you might want to consider going with a mesh type system. And you may say to yourself, what is a mesh? What is mesh Wi-Fi? Well, mesh Wi-Fi isn't just one router. It's a system with multiple, quote, routers, unquote, that work together. So you have I guess you call it your main router, which plugs into your modem, or actually if you have an existing router modem combination, you plug it into your router modem, and that acts as your main brain for your mesh Wi-Fi system. And then you have nodes from the same manufacturer that you can purchase that extends the coverage, and then the node also has its own range that it will transmit within. So adding a second node 100 feet away, if you can get that far. Sometimes you can't get that far. So you get, say, 50 feet away, you add a second node, and it has a good coverage of 200 feet. So you've added another 200 feet of your signal from your first node. And so you can add nodes as you want to increase the coverage of your Wi-Fi. And it works pretty well. And you don't have to connect them together by wires. Most of them today are designed to connect wirelessly. They may have the option to connect wired, and if you have the time and money to run a Cat5 wire to connect the two nodes, that will give you better performance. But the wiring, what we're trying to do is get rid of wires and go with wireless. But they're not suitable for every house. Sometimes you only need one high quality standard Wi-Fi router, and that'll give you good coverage on your house. Where if you put in a mesh system, it just may be overkill. So you want to start with one router and get a good one, and then experiment in placing it around your house to see what gives you the best coverage. And if that works for you, then you're doing good. Now, what I have found is, I know in my personal experience, as I added more smart devices in my house, as I added smart lights, smart cameras, doorbells, trying to think what else, streaming devices, smart TVs, I found that my single router didn't give me, I got good coverage, but it was getting, I guess, congested. So I had so many devices vying for that same signal for the router, so I didn't get good coverage. So by adding a mesh system to my home, all those devices, different ones connect to different mesh access points, and so I'm able to have a whole lot better coverage, and I'm able to add a lot more different devices on my network. So one good advantage of a mesh system is it does future-proof your system a little bit better than a single router. And if you need to expand your coverage, you just add another node. And I guess the final point is, excuse me, the mesh systems now today are easy to set up. They're designed for homeowners or do-it-yourself computer guys to do it themselves by following the instructions. I think the hardest part for most people is not following the instructions, is understanding what the terms really mean. And I'm hoping this this podcast will help you understand the different terminologies. And so when I added the mesh, but they're not suitable for every house. Sometimes you only need one high-quality standard Wi-Fi router, and that'll give you good coverage on your house, where if you put in a mesh system, it just may be overkill. So you want to start with one router and get a good one, and then experiment in placing it around your house to see what gives you the best coverage. And if that works for you, then you're doing good. Now, what I have found is, I know in my personal experience, as I added more smart devices in my house, as I added smart lights, smart cameras, doorbells, trying to think what else, streaming devices, smart TVs, I found that my single router didn't give me, I got good coverage, but it was getting, I guess, congested. So I had so many devices vying for that same signal for the router, so I didn't get good coverage. So by adding a mesh system to my home, all those devices, different ones connect to different mesh access points, and so I'm able to have a whole lot better coverage. In closing, I want to thank you for tuning in to my Smart Homes for Seniors podcast. In our next episode, we're going to talk a little bit about smart home security systems, and I use the Simply Safe is my primary smart home security system. I have some other smart home security systems too, so I have some redundancy there. But hopefully today's episode, going over what Wi-Fi and Mesh Wi-Fi are, helps you in your understanding of some of the basics of smart home planning. If you enjoyed the episode today, I'd appreciate you pressing that magic like button or follow or subscribe button. And again, I appreciate your support, and I hope something good happens to you today. And I hope you have a great day.